Hey everyone, welcome back. Now that my heat and UV tests are well underway, and there's a link in the cards above to that, and I'll have an update on that here in a couple days as well, I've got other things I want to do, and one of them is to test out transparent PCTG filament. If you guys watch my channel, you know I love my transparent filaments. I've got PLA, PETG, ABS, and polycarbonate transparent filaments. Now, PCTG claims to be stronger, tougher, more impact resistant, and more transparent than those other ones. And I want to test all of that. In future videos, I'm even going to be putting it out on my hammer drop rig as well, and I'll put a link above to my hammer drop tests I've done in the past. It's also claimed that you can adjust the transparency of PCTG by changing the nozzle temperature. Now, this is 3D Best brand of filament. I bought this on Amazon with my own money, affiliate link below. It cost about 30 bucks. I'm going to be trying it on my old Ender 3 first because this filament claims to have very low shrinkage, which means it won't warp, which means it shouldn't require an enclosure. So my oldest Ender 3 was one of the first 500 made. It's got a few upgrades on it, but it still has the stock control board and still has the stock hot end. And print temperature should be right near the upper range of what that stock printer can do. Now, stock it is not stock. It does have upgrades, and it has been flashed to Marlin, so I can go above what Creality originally wanted to allow on it, which was 250. And if it doesn't work on that old Ender 3 with the stock control board and the stock hot end, we'll try it in my enclosed Ender 3 that has the SKR 1.3 board on it and the cheapo all-metal hot end, which has been working really well for me. But let's get it out of the box. Let's take a look at it. I'm sure there's going to be a sticker on it to tell us what the temperature should be, and there is. Oh, look what they did. They put a stamp right over top of the temperatures. They say temperature 230 to 260 and bed temperature 80 to 120. So that should be 260s, probably just at the very upper end of what a stock Ender 3 control board will do before it starts crashing. I know my Ender 3 250, a short print, okay, but it starts having failures. You go much above that. But anyway, let's get this out of the package. Let's get it over on the Ender 3 and let's see what it can do. Okay, I have the PCTG loaded, and I know you can't see the label because it's on the wrong side, of course, but there it is, loaded onto the old Ender 3. I have run enough filament through it, I think, to clear out the previous filament, which was the Jaris PLA, which I printed this tag on. I am going to print one of these, and I am going to start with the initial settings of, let's get it back out of there, the initial lowest settings as far as temperature is concerned, which is going to be 230 on the nozzle and 80 on the bed. I am using Chep's Ultra Fast 0.28 profile with just temperatures modified for this. So let's print it and see what happens. Okay, well, the good news is it stuck to the glass and hairspray. And oh, by the way, I meant to clean this bed off, re-put the hairspray on and re-level it, and I didn't. I didn't do anything to it after I'd been printing with it before. So the good news is it stuck to that glass and hairspray, the old glass and hairspray in my old level, probably for PLA, and it stuck fine. There's no warpage at all. The bad news is it is not very transparent. Now you can obviously see in through to the infill, but here's the PLA, the transparent PLA I did. And while it is, in a way it's, let me get something to put behind it. I'm not sure if you can really see that. Oh wait, I'm zoomed way in. Let me zoom back out again. I'm not sure how well you can see that. It is certainly, I've written on the back of the PLA, it is certainly whiter than the PLA, but I don't think it's quite as transparent. I think you can see through to that text underneath just a wee bit better with the PLA. But that's at the lowest temperature they recommend. That's at 230. Let's pump it up. I don't know, what do you think? Let's pump it up to 250 and see what it says. What was the recommendations on it again? I already forgot. Max is 260. I'm not sure this printer will run 260, but you know what? Let's give it a go and see what happens. What's the worst that can happen? It can fail. Okay, I have resliced it with a 260 degree nozzle temp. I don't remember what it was originally maxed out at with the stock firmware on it. I think it was 250, but I might be remembering wrong. I flashed all these to Marlin a long time ago, and I've got the high available way more than that. So I'm going to do it at 260. We're all set to go. I'm going to leave the bed at 80. Oh, and if you're wondering, the cooling fans are set to run at 80%. And this is Arizona, and it's hot outside, so my air conditioning is running. And we just serviced the air conditioning, and it's pumping out about 44 degree air. So if it ain't going to warp here, it's probably not going to warp for you either. And it's kind of humid out today here too. And humidity inside the house is a high 31%, and some of you will laugh, but that is high here. It's normally half that or less. In fact, it had been 9% for a while. So anyway, let's get this printed. Okay, that printed really well too. No warpage whatsoever, no problems printing. This is a very easy filament to print. Let's get it off and compare it with the one we did at 230. Well, I'll say one thing, it sticks to mirror and hairspray really well. Oh, interesting. Here's the one I did at 230, PCTG 230. Here's the one I just took off. And the colder one is quite a bit more transparent. Let me get that piece of paper again. See if we can see the difference there. Well, actually, over top of text like this, the hotter one seems more transparent. How curious. I mean, it's not a huge, whoops, I'm sorry, I'm off camera. It's not a huge difference, but the hotter one seems more transparent. Now, if you look at it, the cooler one has a much, see if I can get it in the light, the cooler one has a much more reflective surface. The hotter one is considerably more matte. It seems like it's not as easy to see through because you can't see the infill as easy. But when you hold it up to something like this text, it does seem like the hotter one is slightly more transparent. Don't know how visible that is, but and it may be the reflectivity that's making it harder to see through. Huh, really interesting. I was not expecting that at all. You can certainly see through the top layer more easily with the colder one, but yeah, that's interesting. Now, one thing I have not done, I took this filament right out of the package and printed with it. I did not dry it. It does say it is hygroscopic and it should be dried. So, and they do say that, and this is a Centium saying this, not 3D Best. The Centium seemed to be the one who developed PCTG, or at least popularized it. They say it should be dried for 4 to 8 hours. So let's do that next. See if that changes anything. Okay, there it is in my Rosewill food dehydrator with the 3D printed adapter for it, and I did a video on that. I'll put a link in the cards above. Now, Centium did say to dry it for what did they say, 4 to 8 hours at 65 to 70 C. So let's go up to 65. There's 65 there. And I've got some desiccant packs in there. It is 1:36 on Saturday, so we'll be back around 7:30ish, and we'll get it out of there. We'll try those prints again. Now, when I take it out of there, it's going directly into my homemade dry box. Link in the cards above. Okay, time has passed. It is now 7:27 on the same day. That has been in there for roughly 6 hours. I'm going to switch it off. And we're going to dump these in there first, down there in the bottom. And we're going to then put the filament in. And got to put it in the other way, don't we? Wow, that's a little on the toasty side. And we're going to run it through there. Okay, we're sticking out the other end. Going to put the lid on. There we go. Let's go inside and print again. Okay, so here's my dry box connected directly into the printer. I am not exposed to moist air, although the moist air isn't very moist. It's 33% humidity, which is higher than normal for us. But it's only 33% and it's not going to be exposed, and it's a short print. So I am going to print one at 230 and one at 260. Let's get going. Okay, now that the printing is done, let's have a look at it. But first, let's talk for a second about how easy this was to print on the old Ender 3. It was really easy. I used my standard PLA profile with, CHEP's ultra fast 0.28 modifications to it, and all I did was change the temperature, and I had zero issues printing it whatsoever. There was no blobbing, there was no warping. It stuck to the glass and hairspray without a problem. I had no issues whatsoever. One thing I want to note before we continue is this filament changed considerably in appearance between the time I took it off and about 3 or 4 hours later. And what it did was the one at 230 became very, very milky on the top side in appearance. It also lost all of its shininess. I think in an earlier section of this video, I said the 230 was shinier. It might have been when it came off the printer, but it's sure not 4 or 5 hours later. And this is the next day. It is Sunday at 1:56. So that's something to consider, is it looks a lot different after it's been off the printer for a while, but it did not warp, or I had no problems with it sticking to the bed or printing at all. So if you have problems printing PETG, then this might be a good choice for you. Now, as far as now, another thing to cover, let's look at the difference between dried, and I wrote D on the ones I dried, and so that actually goes like this, and I actually wrote on the wrong side of that one. I tried to only write on the side that was against the bed, but I goofed up on that one. So let's look at the difference real quick between the one that was dried and the one that wasn't. And I'll tell you right now, there is no difference. So I had just cut that filament open. It had been vacuum packed in the plastic bag with a desiccant pack. So it was very dry. The drying made no difference at all. Let's take a quick look at that first. Here's a sheet of paper, and I'm going to do 2 transparency tests. Here's the 230, and I got to put that side down against the 230 that was dried on the right. And I don't know if you can see a difference. I can't. Same on the opposite side. The opposite side looks exactly the same. You can't tell a difference. 260. We'll do the same way. Dry it on the right, not dry it on the left. And again, there is no difference. I kind of assumed that out of the vacuum pack, it would be dry. But I know if I didn't dry it, I hear about that it was milky. That was because I didn't dry it. Well, I did dry it. It didn't make a bit of difference. So one thing that's interesting to note about this filament is it is considerably more transparent looking through it in one direction than it is in the other. And is PETG that way? Here's PETG. Yeah, a little bit, but mainly because the top surface of the PETG is fairly rough. And I noticed that that's not true of the PCTG. They both feel the same. The only way to really tell which side was against the glass is to run your thumbnail over it, and then you can feel it. Can you hear that? You don't get that on the glass side, but when you just rub the ball of your finger over it, it's hard to tell the difference. So there is no difference between the dried and the not dried. So for right now, I'm going to put the dried to one side, and let's compare them together. And again, I'm the wrong way. So yeah, the 260 is considerably more transparent, and in both directions. So another thing is, I think I said in that first video when I took off the 260 that the PETG that was done at 230 was shinier. Well, that's not the case anymore. This 230, it took it several hours, but it turned white, milky, and it went completely matte on the top side. On the bottom side, that's the top side, right? No, this is, I say it is hard to tell with this stuff. So on the side against the bed, they both look, this is the 260 is a little shinier, but on the top side, boy, it really turned matte on me and white. So I find that to be really interesting. I'm sure some chemical engineer can probably tell me why it does that. But let's take the most transparent of them, the 260, and let's compare it with some other filaments. Now, this is regular PETG. And I don't know about you, but I really can't tell much of a difference. The PETG is shinier. Do I have them the same way? That was down. No, that's the way they go, right? God, this stuff, the top and the bottom feels the same. Okay, that side was against the bed. This side was against the bed. So we're looking at the top side through now. I can't really tell the difference. They both look about the same to me. ABS has a different colorish tone. I think it personally, I think it's more transparent. But it isn't as ice translucent as this is. It is more translucent, and it's also very shiny, but it is not the same color tone. Here is the Jaris transparent PLA, and it's nowhere near as transparent as the PCTG. Here's polycarbonate, and I would say the polycarbonate, I would say it's about the same. I don't know. And of course, I did this one on the resin printer, and this isn't even as good as my resin printer can do. My FEP sheet is scratched up and milky, and my top metal surface is pretty rough, so it can do better than this. But yeah, there you can see the difference there. If you want something completely translucent, you're probably going to wind up having to go to resin. I just included that for sport and amusement. Let's try a different translucency test here real quick. Here's my old phone, and I have a picture of my interior of my Jeep on it. I've got the brightness turned all the way up. So let's look at the translucency on something that's backlit. And I am gonna go bedside down, and that's that there. But you notice with this filament, it is different. Oops. It is different depending on which way you look through it. So I'm going to put it like that because that's its most translucent. Here is PETG, and the PETG, it just doesn't make that much of a difference which side you're looking through. I can't tell any difference. I don't think that this is any more translucent to my eye than the PETG is. It's shinier at 260 than the PETG is at my normal print temperature, which I think is 230. Here's ABS, and for a backlit thing, to me the ABS seems slightly more translucent, but it does have that slight different color, which isn't as pleasing as the PCTG. Here's the polycarbonate, and Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's slightly more translucent than the polycarbonate, not much. Remember, the polycarbonate's kind of bowed. Here is the Jarvis PLA, and there's no comparison there. It's way more translucent than the PLA, and it doesn't matter which way I put it. Let's compare it to the 230. Here's the 230 temperature. And yeah, I think the 260 is way more transparent. And if you put it like this, that's almost opaque. I mean, it's hard to see through that at all, even with the backlit screen. And of course, here is the here's the resin. I did this just for sport and amusement. I know there was going to be no contest, and like I say, I can get way more transparent than that on the resin printer. And yeah, you almost, with a backlit, you almost can't see it looking directly down on it. Whoops. Let's get back to that picture. So yeah. So while this is good, it's as good as the PETG, nothing compares to resin. Now, you're going to say, well, the resin doesn't have any infill and doesn't have top and bottom layers with a hollow area in between. And you're absolutely right, it doesn't. And I could have tried printing that way, and honestly, I didn't think of it until after all the printing was done, and I didn't want to go back and do it. Maybe we'll do it in a future test. I'm going to be printing parts for my RC conversion to, I'll be printing headlights and windows and things, and I'll try it then and see if it doesn't make a difference to it. So, as far as transparency and ease of printing is concerned, you know, while it may print a little easier than PETG for some people, there was no stringing, no blobbing. I usually get a tiny bit of stringing and blobbing with PETG. I didn't in this particular print, but I have in the past. I didn't see any with PCTG. It didn't warp at all, but then again, PETG doesn't for me either. So it may print a little bit easier, but then again, you're looking at a much higher temperature to get a similar product in appearance, both on bed and on nozzle temperature. So that may eliminate any slight easier it is. Is it more impact resistant? I think we're going to find that out in one of the next videos. I'm going to be printing that round little hammer cup that I use for my hammer drop test. We'll be doing it. And I'll do it in all of them, again, just for sport and amusement. Maybe we'll only do it with PET. I'll have to think about that one, won't I? We'll have to think about that one. And I'm going to put these, I've got some more cup hooks printed, some more pegboard hooks. I'm going to put one of each of these out in the sun with my other heat UV tests that I've got going on right now. Link in the cards above. And I think that's it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope we all learned something. I know I did. I think the idea that changed color after it had been off the printer for a while, but only on one side, to be really interesting. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this. Please like and subscribe. And of course, I will catch you in the next one. Bye for now.